we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the next part of my stream. And that is my review for Werewolf by Night, the new Marvel TV movie. They're calling it a special, chat. I think when you say TV movie, that has like some negative connotations. It's like, oh, it means it's cheap, it's not well written, not well acted. But it's kind of like a TV film, chat. It's a 50, or maybe we could just say a 50-minute, I guess, special. That's the appropriate word, chat. 50-minute special. And for those who don't know, it follows this secret group of monster hunters as they compete for this very powerful jewel, this ancient artifact, this relic, while going up against a dangerous monster, or several dangerous monsters, depending on how you want to look at it. And it's directed by Michael Giacchino, the film composer, who I believe, he's obviously mostly known for his music, but I believe this is his first film. This is his directorial debut, chat. And to be honest with you, as you guys know, I was not a fan of the marketing and trailers for this movie, for Werewolf by Night. It seemed to be taking a Marvel horror character, Werewolf, the Jack Russell, I believe the character's name is, and just kind of turn into a campy comedy. It's been a greater concern that I've had for the future of the MCU's handling of Marvel's horror characters, especially Blade, which I'm still very concerned with even after watching this special. Now listen, the comedy in Marvel has been criticized particularly harshly for this phase, chef, for phase 4, and I've liked it for the most part. I like most of them. Not saying that it all worked, but I like the humor in Thor: Love and Thunder and in She-Hulk most recently, chat. But there was some stuff. It's like, yes, some of it fell flat. Most certainly. But in any case, I just wasn't digging really what I was seeing from the marketing. It just felt too campy, and I was like, all right, is this what? It just felt like, is this what Blade is going to be? Is this what the future of a lot of other like horror Marvel characters are eventually going to be? Chad, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not digging this. It had me very concerned, But the thing is, though, however, after hearing near universal praise for this special from you guys, I went in with higher expectations. I went in a little more positive. And I got to say, this is one of the best pieces of content that the MCU has produced for Phase 4, for this particular phase, chap. Although it certainly has some comedy, it was not the campy monster movie that I initially expected based on the marketing. I feel like the marketing didn't really showcase what this actually was. I felt that they kind of did a disservice to this special, to this TV film. It's very much an homage to the classic Universal monster movies, but also introduces us to the MCU's horror universe in a pretty surprisingly serious, but at the same time very fun way, very intimate way. It's just very refreshing entry for the MCU, aesthetically and tonally. And although it's only 50 minutes, it does a lot, I think, to introduce us to the major players of the movie and the secret monster hunter society. It doesn't get bogged down in too much exposition. You feel like, oh, because it's 50 minutes, they probably got like, all right, this is what you got to do, this is what you got to know, and yada, yada, yada. And then the last, 20 minutes will get to the action and stuff, and then the characters doing cool things. It's like, but the thing is about it, it doesn't. It doesn't get bogged down in that exposition. Instead, it really focuses, they keep it simple. They keep it simple, but at the same time, to kind of expand the Marvel Universe in a really cool way. It's really just about a story of a man trying to help their friend while opening up to someone else and asking for their help. Someone that they probably shouldn't open themselves up to, but they find common ground, and they establish a relationship. And in its small scale, that and its intimacy that makes it so interesting to me and so fun to watch. And it leaves you it's short, but it leaves you wanting even more, yearning for more of this section of the MCU. Aesthetically, I think the black and white really helps. If you're a fan of Universal monster movies like Dracula, like Frankenstein. The thing is, those are played pretty goddamn straight. And it's like, now we kind of look at them as like, here's some campy things, and certainly the effects. But for the most part, they're like really, really earnest. I mean, look at something like Frankenstein, like the original Frankenstein, like how straight, or even the original Wolfman. Like they're not going, isn't this ridiculous? Wink, 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 nudge, nudge. Like, no, they're playing it straight. Like, no, this is a serious situation. Yes, we just happen to be dealing with a monster made out of cadavers, or a man who is literally transforming into a wolf and dealing with the ramifications of that. Like and that's what this movie does too. And it has that comedy, but it's not obnoxious. Everyone feels, despite the fact that this is a monster hunting society, everyone feels kind of human, and I really like that. And I feel like that is best captured in the three leads in this particular special, with Gael Garcia Bernal, who plays the main character of Jack Russell, who is the werewolf by night. I like that we see this guy who is just trying. Again, I want to get too much into it. I want to spoil the twists, but I like that, like his like, we don't know too much about him. They give us enough. There's like certain lines of dialogue where they hint at a tragic past where he has suffered a lot. I'm gonna tell you right now, we don't see any of that. I imagine they'll probably be saving that for the future, which I hope they'll do more specials, and possibly feature him in more movies. But I like that they just like, hey, I'm just here to help my friend who happens to be another monster, and we just get really connected with this guy. He's likable. I thought that was pretty cool. We also have Laura Donnelly, who plays the character of Elsa Bloodstone, who I feel like is the again, great. Wonderful chemistry with Gael Garcia Bernal. When they're on screen together, it's like you want to see them even more. I want to see them return and continue their relationship. I thought it was great. She's a badass. She's coming back in this monster society after her father, who's the leader, has passed away. She has to deal with her mother, Verussa Bloodstone, who is clearly resentful of her and doesn't like her at all, doesn't want her to be there. And so she's already, vying for power. She thinks like, she's like, I know I need to do this because it's my legacy and I need to have this power. But at the same time, she's resented by all the other members of this. And so she's dealing with a lot. There's a lot at stake with her. And, even though she is a monster hunter, quote unquote, she opens up to a person who is, in all intents and purposes, a monster. I really liked her performances. There's some great action scenes with her. We'll get to the action in just a bit, but I just want to get to the characters. That was the thing I was concerned with the most about. Was just like, okay, are these characters going to be kind of throwaway and campy and super one? No, and they're not. That's the thing that surprised me, is that these two in particular where they gave them a lot of depth, and they actually had moments of conversation, a nice back and forth, and a nice rapport. And I just did not expect that at all in this special. And the other one, the other of the main leads, which is probably playing the most broad, but I feel like they still had some really great moments. And that's Harriet Sansom Harris, who plays, Verussa Bloodstone, the stepmother of Elsa Bloodstone. She has this vested interest in controlling this society after her husband passed away. You totally feel the resentment she has towards her stepdaughter, but she's playing it more broad than anyone else in the movie. But I don't know, she just seems to be having so much fun. You just want her to get it eventually, because she's just so incredibly cruel. And she hams it up a little bit, but I think it works. I think it works, her performance, for the most part. And then we get to the aspect of the special, which I didn't feel like they would even invest money into, which was the action. The action in this is pretty goddamn good, Chad, and they get away with a lot in terms of blood and gore. There is blood and there is gore in this. Again, they have that black and white aesthetic, so they were able to, so they cut someone's hand off, and it's literally splurting blood. Doesn't look like blood. It looks like chocolate syrup, but still, it's like, oh, okay. I really like that. That looked good. Like, there's several action scenes, and then by the time we get to the end, when we get to the titular werewolf by night, there's a wonderful sequence in the third act where they have the werewolf jumping around and just slaughtering the members of this monster hunter society. I'm just like, I was very impressed with that. Jumping around like goddamn Spider-Man, chap. And, there is another monstrous character, which we've seen in the trailer, Chet, which is the man thing. You know, beware the man thing's touch, and you should fucking beware, Chet, because when he takes people out, it looks rough. It looks pretty goddamn painful. I love what they did with him. I love Jack Russell's relationship with Man Thing. I thought that was unexpected. I don't really know too much about the character. You know, I know more about like DC's Man Thing equivalent, Swamp Thing. You know, Alec Mason. I know more about him. And Man Thing, I'm like, I don't really know much about him. And I was like, oh wow, he doesn't really have any speaking lines, but I looked at him as this big green monstrous puppy, and I loved him. I wanted more scenes with him. There's also some scenes where they get out of the black and white and they show it in colors. I don't want to spoil too much, of course, but they shift to Technicolor, and it looks pretty goddamn good in that Technicolor color aesthetic that they got towards the end of the film. And you see shots of like Man Thing in color. And honestly, chat, I think he looks better colorized than he does in black and white. Because if I have any criticism of the special so far, because like the story is really tight, it's intimate, it's tight, it knows what to focus on. All the action I think is really good. They use their budget well with that, but there is some CGI in it where it's like, okay, that looks a little fake. There's a shot of some CGI spiders and they look like JPEGs. You know, there's a couple of shots where they have Man Thing kind of running around, and I was like, yeah, this looks weird. But then but in black and white, but when they show him in color, it's like, oh shit, I'm kind of struggling. Is this like a practical effect? Is this CGI? Are you CGI, Man Thing? Like, he looks better in color than he does in black and white, honestly. I was like, I was very surprised by that. But yeah, Chad, overall, I was kind of blown away by this. Even though it was 50 minutes, I wanted to continue on. I felt like they could have made this like an hour and a half, because I really wanted, maybe that was the point. Maybe, because I can understand why Kevin Feige and Disney and Marvel and everyone, they were a little unsure about this. I mean, Werewolf by Night, that is the very definition of a D-list character. Not saying he's bad, not at all, or any of his supporting characters are bad, no. But not as well known by the mainstream. But maybe they wanted to test, the waters, see how people reacted. Let's do 50 minutes. Let's invest, how much money we need to invest in this. And, we'll see how people react to it. And so, at least, again, I haven't looked at other people's reviews. I really don't know how other people are reacting to this outside of Double Toasted's most recently and what you guys have been saying. Other than that, like, I don't know how this is being received. But to me, it's just super refreshing. It's fun. It's gory. I like that it focuses on the characters, and it doesn't overdo with the humor, which I know a lot of people have been criticizing. It has comedy in it, but I feel like all the comedy works. There's that one goddamn pun. I'm like, okay, I'll be rotting for you. It's like, all right, whatever. That's the one thing that stood out to me. But I'm like, yeah, it makes me excited to see this character, Jack Russell, and certainly Elsa Bloodstone, return in other Marvel properties. And I feel like seeing this, I would hope that Kevin Feige and anyone else involved in the creative process are like, okay, let's kind of start to establish a horror section in the MCU where all the horror characters can exist and partner up and do their things of each other. But then also eventually, and I think they should team up with the Avengers and do Kane Dynasty and Secret Wars. Like, that'd be fucking cool if we could see Gael Garcia's Bernal, Jack Russell, or the Man Thing eventually show up and fight against Kane and Doctor Doom and Secret Wars. That would be awesome. I really want to see that. But also establish other characters like Blade, and like have this character have Jack Russell interact with Blade and like Ghost Rider and all these other kind of like horror-esque heroes. I think that could be pretty cool. Yeah, basically a better, exactly, like a better version of the Dark Universe. What Universal wanted to create all those years ago, of starting with the Tom Cruise Mummy. It's like, now maybe Marvel can do that. And then they have those characters interact when it's appropriate in the larger MCU. But this is a very good step forward. It makes me interested in this character. I want to know more about him. They only tell us a little bit, but it left me wanting more, which I think is good. But yeah, I recommend it. For those of you who have still been with the MCU, been loving it, I think you'll love this, because it's definitely something different. And I think it's good for people who feel like they've become burned out by the MCU. They feel like it's kind of samey. This one is not samey. This one is very different. I think it stands out aesthetically, tonally, and it presents us with a D-list character in a really intimate way, intimate look into this D-list character's life, and I loved it. And I want to see more of it, and I'm hoping we do. So for right now, outside my criticisms with some iffy CGI occasionally, I think this is great. This to me, Chad, is the definition of a full price. I highly recommend it. I think you guys should check it out. Perfect for the spoopy season of October, Chad. But what about you guys? How do you feel about Werewolf by Night? Do you like the way it looks? Do you like the aesthetics? Do you like the tone? How do you like the characters? And Jack Russell, also Bloodstone, Verussa Bloodstone, the Man-Thing, Chad. How do you like how Man-Thing was handling this? I thought incredibly well. I'm really curious about it. What about you guys?